Welcome back to Elderly Health Tips, the channel where we dive deep into real science, real solutions, and real stories to help you stay strong, active, and pain-free as you age. Now, let me ask you something. What if I told you that some of the most common foods in your kitchen, yes, those little everyday favorites, might be silently weakening your legs? Sounds extreme, right? But here's the thing. We're not just talking about sugar or fat. We're talking about specific ingredients that slowly inflame your joints, damage your nerves, and cut off circulation, without you even realizing it. Over the next few minutes, we'll break down 7 surprising food groups that may be hurting your legs far more than you thought. Some of them you might already be eating every single day. And trust me, number 3? I bet it's in your pantry right now. If you're ready to take back control of your health and mobility, hit that like button, share this video with someone you love, and don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Health Tips. Your support helps us keep creating honest, helpful content for seniors everywhere. All right, are you ready? Let's dive into the foods that could be slowly stealing your leg strength, starting with one that's probably on your plate right now. Number 7. Alcohol and alcoholic beverages. It's easy to think of a glass of wine or a cold beer as just part of winding down. But as we age, alcohol isn't just a social drink. It can quietly weaken your legs, damage your nerves, and worsen circulation, especially if you're over 60. A 2019 report in Alcohol Research, current reviews found that long-term alcohol use, more than 7 drinks per week for older adults, was strongly associated with peripheral neuropathy, a condition that affects nearly 35% of people over 65. This causes numbness, tingling, burning sensations, and muscle weakness, most often in the feet and lower legs. And it's not just heavy drinkers. Even moderate drinking has been shown to interfere with nutrient absorption, especially B vitamins like thiamine, B1, B6, and B12, all essential for nerve health and blood flow to the extremities. According to a 2020 study in the Journal of Vascular Health, alcohol consumption, especially in older adults, was associated with increased blood viscosity and reduced capillary function, meaning blood has a harder time reaching your feet and toes. Over time, this can lead to cold feet, leg cramps, and even ulceration in severe cases. In those with diabetes or prediabetes, alcohol can destabilize blood sugar, leading to swings that make circulation and nerve function even worse. So what should you watch for? Here are some warning signs alcohol may be affecting your legs. Numbness, tingling, or burning in the feet or calves. Feeling unsteady when walking or standing. Cold feet, even in warm weather. Muscle weakness in the lower legs. Foot wounds or blisters that take longer to heal. These are not just signs of aging. They're signs your nerves or blood flow may be compromised. Number 6. Pastries, cookies, and packaged desserts. They're small, sweet, and comforting. But for older adults, industrial desserts like pastries, cookies, and packaged cakes are quietly chipping away at the strength and health of our legs. These foods are loaded with refined sugars, trans fats, and highly processed carbohydrates, a dangerous combination that fuels inflammation, blood sugar spikes, and vascular damage. A 2020 study published in the Journal of Nutrition and Aging found that seniors who regularly consumed processed sweets had a 42% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes and chronic inflammation, both of which are directly tied to leg pain, poor circulation, and nerve damage. Even worse, many of these desserts contain partially hydrogenated oils, which the FDA has already declared unsafe for human consumption. These oils lead to arterial stiffness, impairing blood flow to the legs and feet. So what's really happening in the body? Processed desserts cause repeated insulin spikes, which not only tire out the pancreas, but also damage the endothelium, the delicate inner lining of blood vessels. Damaged vessels reduce oxygen delivery to the legs, triggering fatigue, cramping, and longer wound healing time. At the same time, the sugar overload feeds systemic inflammation, which can worsen arthritis in the knees and ankles and degrade nerve health, leading to tingling, numbness, or burning in the feet. Research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, 2021, confirmed that diets high in ultra-processed sweets were associated with reduced walking speed, higher fall risk, and weaker lower limb strength in people over 65. Here are some warning signs your legs may already be feeling the effects. Swelling around the ankles by late afternoon. Tired, heavy legs after meals. Numbness, tingling, or burning in the feet. Joint pain or stiffness in the knees or ankles. Slow healing scrapes or cuts on the lower legs. These symptoms often sneak up gradually, but they are not just aging. Position 5. Processed red meats. When we talk about threats to aging legs, most people jump straight to things like arthritis or poor circulation. But rarely do we talk about what's quietly sitting on their dinner plate. Let's talk about processed red meat, like bacon, sausages, deli ham, and hot dogs. These foods aren't just high in saturated fat and sodium. They're also packed with preservatives, especially nitrates and nitrites, which have been linked to systemic inflammation and oxidative stress. A study published in Circulation, American Heart Association, 2010, tracked over 1,200 older adults for nearly 10 years. It found that those who consumed processed meats daily had a 42% higher risk of developing peripheral artery disease, PADI, a condition that narrows blood flow to the legs, causing pain, cramping, and even immobility. And that's not all. Another research piece from the Harvard School of Public Health in 2014 confirmed that individuals over 60 who consumed high levels of processed meats had significantly lower levels of nitric oxide, an essential molecule that helps dilate blood vessels. Without it, circulation to the legs becomes compromised, leading to cold feet, numbness, and a higher risk of ulcerations. As someone in their late 60s, I can tell you from experience, your legs feel the difference. A few years ago, I used to love my weekend breakfast: scrambled eggs, toast, and 3 strips of crispy bacon. But I noticed a burning sensation in my calves after walking just a few blocks. At first, I blamed it on aging, until I started cutting out processed meats. Within weeks, that sensation improved dramatically. Now, I opt for grilled salmon or a veggie omelet, and my legs don't scream at me after a simple walk to the store. So how do you know if processed meats are already affecting your legs? Here are a few warning signs. You feel pain or cramping in your legs when walking, but it goes away with rest. Classic PAD symptom. Your legs or feet feel unusually cold or numb. You notice slower wound healing or darker skin on your lower legs, swelling or heavy sensation in the calves after eating salty foods. These signs should never be ignored, especially if you're over 60. Position 4. Sugary beverages. It might surprise you, but one of the stealthiest threats to leg health in older adults isn't something you chew. It's what you drink. Let's talk clearly about sugar-sweetened beverages, or SSBS for short. That includes regular soda, sweet iced tea, sugary coffee drinks, energy drinks, and even some fruit punches labeled as natural. Many seniors think a cold, soft drink in the afternoon is harmless. But let me show you what the science says. It's far from innocent. According to a 2015 study published in Circulation AHA, People who consumed 1 to 2 servings of sugary beverages per day had a 26% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. The risk remained elevated even after controlling for weight, meaning sugar alone is metabolically harmful. And when diabetes enters the picture, your legs become a primary target. In people over 60, diabetes is the leading cause of peripheral neuropathy, a condition where nerves, especially in the feet, are damaged. The result? Burning pain, numbness, poor balance, and eventually ulcers or amputations in severe cases. But it's not just diabetes. Let's look at inflammation, a silent driver of joint pain and vascular damage. In 2020, researchers from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that older adults who consumed at least 1 sugary drink per day had significantly higher levels of CRP-C-reactive protein, a key marker of inflammation that's been linked to arthritis and chronic venous insufficiency. Chronic inflammation affects blood flow, and when blood doesn't reach the legs properly, you get pain when walking, what we call claudication, as well as cold feet, varicose veins, and even skin discoloration in the lower extremities. Let me be blunt. These aren't just cosmetic issues, they're preludes to disability. And here's the worst part. Many seniors are unaware of how much sugar they're drinking. Did you know? A 16-ounce sweetened iced tea can contain 36 to 44 grams of sugar, more than a can of soda. Some bottled coffee drinks have 50 to 60 grams of added sugar. That's over 12 teaspoons. Even healthy fruit smoothies or sports drinks often contain 25 to 40 grams of sugar per serving. All this adds up to something called metabolic overload, where your cells become resistant to insulin, blood vessels become inflamed, and circulation is compromised, especially in the legs. Here are warning signs that sugary drinks may be harming your legs. You feel pain in your calves after walking but not at rest, a sign of narrowed arteries. You have frequent tingling, numbness, or burning sensations in the feet. Your legs feel weak or heavy, especially after meals. You've had slow healing cuts or frequent skin infections around the ankles. There's a darkening of the skin around your lower legs or ankles, early signs of venous disease. These aren't just old age complaints, they're signals from your body. Are you willing to try swapping your sweet drink for a healthier alternative, just for 1 week, to see how your legs feel? Position 3. French fries and deep-fried foods. They're crispy, they're golden, they smell amazing. But as a doctor in my late 60s, I'm here to warn you. French fries and deep-fried foods are quietly ruining your legs. Yes, they're delicious, but they come at a cost, especially for aging blood vessels, nerves, and joints. A 2017 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that people who regularly consumed deep-fried foods, at least 4 times a week, had a 37% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And for seniors, that's a major red flag. Diabetes drastically increases your risk of neuropathy and peripheral artery disease, 2 of the biggest causes of pain, numbness, and weakness in the legs. But it's not just about sugar levels. Let's talk about trans fats and advanced glycation end products, AGEs, 2 silent killers hidden in fried foods. When you fry food at high heat, especially in reused oils, you're creating harmful compounds. Trans fats are known to increase LDL, bad cholesterol, reduce HDL, good cholesterol, and cause arterial stiffening, making it harder for blood to reach your lower limbs. AGEs? These nasty molecules trigger chronic inflammation in the body, particularly in the blood vessels and connective tissue. The result? Joint stiffness, reduced flexibility, and compromised circulation, especially in the legs. A study from the Journal of Gerontology, 2020, showed that seniors who had the highest intake of fried foods and ages were twice as likely to experience reduced walking speed, balance issues, and early signs of frailty. I'll share something personal. In my early 60s, I loved grabbing a quick burger and fries after a long hospital shift. It felt comforting. But after a couple years of this habit, I started noticing pain in my calves, especially after climbing stairs. My ankles also started to swell more often, and my legs would feel heavy by midday. After some lab tests, I found elevated cholesterol, borderline high blood pressure, and early signs of insulin resistance. That was my wake-up call. I gave up the fried foods, replaced them with oven-roasted veggies, air-fried sweet potatoes, and nuts. Within a few months, not only did my numbers improve, but so did my legs. The heaviness, the swelling, the pain, it started to fade. Now, here are a few warning signs that fried foods may already be hurting your legs. Pain or cramping in your calves when walking, especially uphill or upstairs. Swollen feet or ankles by the afternoon. A heavy, tired feeling in your legs after meals. Tingling or burning in the lower legs. Joint stiffness, especially in the knees or ankles after resting. If you've noticed any of these symptoms, it may be time to reevaluate what's on your plate. Position 2. White bread and white rice. It might seem innocent, a slice of white bread with breakfast or a warm bowl of white rice at dinner. But as we age, these harmless staples can quietly damage one of the most important parts of our body, our legs. White bread and white rice are refined carbohydrates. That means they've been stripped of their fiber, minerals, and natural nutrients, leaving behind quick-burning starch that spikes blood sugar rapidly. According to a 2021 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, adults over 60 who consumed high amounts of refined grains, like white rice and white bread, had a 47% higher risk of developing metabolic syndrome, a cluster of conditions including high blood pressure, insulin resistance, and high triglycerides. All of these factors directly impact circulation to the legs. What does that mean for your legs? Elevated blood sugar damages the lining of blood vessels. Over time, this causes them to narrow and stiffen, reducing oxygen-rich blood flow to the lower limbs. The result? Leg fatigue, pain during walking, slower wound healing, and even cold or discolored feet. In fact, a study published in Diabetes Care, 2020, found that older adults with diets high in refined carbs had a 28% increased risk of peripheral artery disease, PAD, a condition that starves the legs of blood and can lead to immobility or, in extreme cases, amputation. How can you tell if white bread and rice are affecting your legs? Here are some warning signs. Cramping or aching in the calves while walking. Slower healing of small cuts or blisters on the feet. Numbness, tingling, or a cold sensation in the toes. Swelling around the ankles after meals. Skin on the lower legs appearing pale or slightly bluish. These are signs that your circulation is struggling, and refined carbs may be playing a bigger role than you think. Now we come to the most critical position. Purine-rich foods triggers high uric acid. It starts quietly, a little stiffness in the toes, maybe some tenderness at night. But for many older adults, the real culprit is hiding in the kitchen. High purine foods that drive up uric acid levels. Purine-rich foods, like organ meats, anchovies, sardines, shellfish, red meats, and even certain legumes, are broken down by the body into uric acid. And when too much uric acid builds up, it doesn't just stay in your blood. It crystallizes in the joints, especially in the feet. According to the Arthritis and Rheumatology Journal, 2018, individuals over age 60 with high purine diets had a 3.4 times greater risk of developing gout, an inflammatory arthritis that most often affects the big toe, ankle, and knee. But it's not just gout. High uric acid levels, also called hyperuricemia, have been linked to reduced circulation, nerve damage, and chronic inflammation in the lower limbs. In my early 60s, I loved liver pâté and seafood platters. I figured they were rich in protein and good fats. But I started waking up with a sharp, stabbing pain in my right big toe. It wasn't just sore. It was hot, red, and swollen. I assumed I had injured it somehow, until my doctor ran a uric acid blood test. My levels were 8.9 milligrams per deciliter, well above normal. Diagnosis? Gout. That forced me to change how I eat. I cut back on high purine meats, swapped in more vegetables, whole grains, and cherries. Yes, cherries. They lower uric acid naturally. Since then, no flare-ups, and I can walk, hike, and enjoy mornings without toe pain. Here's what to watch for if you suspect uric acid is affecting your legs. Sudden, intense pain in a single joint, often the big toe or ankle. Redness, warmth, and swelling around that joint. Pain that flares at night or early morning. A lingering stiffness or discomfort even after the swelling goes down. Small, chalky nodules near joints, called toppi, if the condition is advanced. These are not normal signs of aging. They're clear red flags of uric acid buildup. Do you regularly eat red meats, seafood, or organ meats without realizing the purine load? We've just covered 7 common foods that could be silently harming your legs as you age. If any of them sounded familiar, don't worry. Recognizing the risk is the first step toward change. Start small. Swap sugary drinks for fresh fruit water, trade white bread for whole grain, choose fruit over cookies. Simple changes like these can make a real difference in how your legs feel. Growing older doesn't mean growing weaker. It means getting smarter about your health. If you found this helpful, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to Elderly Health Tips so we can keep supporting you on your journey to a longer, healthier, and more mobile life.